Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Sessions Live event, Making an Independent Movie, Filmmakers Explain. I'm Gordon Drummond, the president of Sessions College, and I'm here with two incredibly talented faculty members we're lucky to have at our school, and that is André Robert Lee and Tim Kirkman. Welcome, Tim and André.
Hi, thank you, Gordon, for having us.
Hi, guys. Well, today's format is a live Q&A with these extremely talented filmmakers that we have here. We're going to ask them some questions about a movie that they just finished directing and which has been released. And we're going to learn something about how it was made. There'll be plenty of time. We're going to watch a clip from the movie. We're going to ask Tim and Andre some questions, and then there'll be plenty of room for a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, then please go to the chat button to the right and post your question in the chat. We already have many questions from students who registered, so stay tuned if you already posted a question, because we'll try to answer it within the hour. But let's get going. So I first must introduce my special guests here. When they're not mentoring online students in the Sessions College classroom in the professional techniques for directing and screenwriting and cinematography, Tim and Andre are award-making filmmakers. And we're here because last year they had the chance to make a film that is unique, beautiful, and deeply personal documentary about a guitar maker called Freeman Vines. Freeman Vines, who died in March 2025, was a craftsman and an artist who made guitars from local wood and always was searching for the perfect sound. As an artist, his techniques were rooted in the civil rights struggle of Black people in America. And he was notable for one project, which was featured in a 2020 book and a traveling exhibition where he made several instruments that were made using lumber from trees that were used to lynch Black men. So this beautiful movie that Tim and Andre made is already gaining attention in the festival circuit. It has been selected for screening at Tribeca Film Festival, River Run Festival, Florida Festival, and many more. So congratulations, guys. How does it feel to be on the festival circuit? What have your last 3 months been like?
Thank you. Busy. A lot of travel, a lot of excitement. I think we're up to 18 film festivals now that we've been accepted to. I think it's 18. Not all of them have been announced, and a few more on the docket. So we're very happy with how it's been received. Or I'm very happy with how it's been received. Yeah.
What is the experience as a filmmaker appearing at these events? Are you nervous? Is it great to connect with your colleagues? What does it feel like?
I'll say, you know what, it's really fun. You get to watch your film with people who are also film fanatics who love film. And I've been to a few of the film festivals. And thank you for that number, Tim. I don't think I knew it was 18. Like, people ask, what other festivals are you in? And I list a couple, but now I can say 18, which is pretty cool.
I just looked it up right before we came on just to make sure.
That's awesome. And this is a
Yeah.
reflection for students, a moment of divide and conquer. Like, Tim has been like the master keeper of the film festival applications and inquiries, and I've taken over social media stuff for us and communicating. So we're constantly sharing, going back and forth, because it's a lot for one person to take on. And I will say Tim has done a lot of heavy lifting. So thank you, Tim, with that. But I say being at the festivals is really fun. I just came back from Indie Shorts, which is part of the Heartland Film Festival out in Indianapolis, and everyone was so friendly and so open and welcoming and warm. And like, we played with a short film that also played at Tribeca.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting to see how the festival had rearranged and put the film in a different order, and see the films talk to one another, and then the other films that were in our slot. Because what I've seen at film festivals I've been to is they make these slots, and usually it's called the music slot that we're in. And it's really fun to see the film play along other movies and projects that sort of have like a language.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I find they talk to one another, which is exciting.
It must be awesome to see your work in theaters and to hear people respond to it.
Yeah.
before
I'll
we
add something to that, Gordon, because I
oh
think
yeah, yeah.
the students might be interested to know that every festival is different, and each one has their own kind of either personality or agenda. And as you might imagine, film festivals in Los Angeles and New York are often driven by the industry itself. In other words, people who are buyers or representatives for distributors and exhibitors are more likely to come and pay attention to see what what filmmakers are coming up or what films are out there to help distribute. Whereas a lot of the festivals across the country, including like Flyover, which is where I was over the weekend, while André was in Indianapolis, I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and these festivals, and I would say, even as a place as kind of fancy as Nantucket is still driven by mostly residents of the community who want to come out and support a cultural event.
Hmm.
That's the film festival. And I'll echo what Andre was saying, that often you get, if you make short films, and in this case, we're a short documentary, you're grouped with films that have like themes or ideas. And so so this time, as Andre said, we're often with music. But in Louisville, it was interesting. It was the first time I had ever seen them group documentary and scripted narrative films together, which was really exciting because when Andre was talking about how they talk to each other, I saw it really happening in the Flyover Film Festival, because all of the films were about iconoclastic individuals who had done something that felt related to being an outsider, and
Hmm.
it was really cool. So anyway, if you're thinking about film festivals, just know that we've been rejected by a lot of film festivals too. There's nothing, and we've both been in the business long enough to know that rejection isn't always about the quality of your film. It's often about the ideas that are being programmed to that year. And so it may not just fit, and it may be that simple. So we try not to take it personally and to just say, like, we made a good film, we're going to find a home wherever it is. So I just wanted to put that to the students in case you are discouraged when you get a rejection, or if you're thinking about submitting, that just know that there are festivals that might cater to exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. You had to put a very special project into this context, right? I mean, before we talk about how the film was made, maybe we should talk about the fact that it's such a personal project. You're dealing with this artist who has a very unique life story and is dealing with a very uncomfortable and deep political message. So I would like to know, like, how did you get started with this? Because the project, as I understand it, was originally a book and an exhibition, and then you folks had a chance to make this movie.
I'll, I'll let you start, Tim, because you show the genesis.
I have a production company called T for Two Entertainment, which is LA based. And when I was there in 2023, actually, I got a call from a longtime producer that I've worked with named Gil Holland. And Gil is the one who said, I've heard about this artist in North Carolina. He knew I was from rural North Carolina. So he was like, I think you should go home and make this movie. Home meaning North Carolina. I haven't lived there in a long time, but uh, and helped me make this movie. And when I read the book, when I saw what those photographs, and when I learned more about Freeman Vines, I knew that it was not a film that I wanted to do alone. And I've known Andre for 30 years, and we've never worked together before. And we've been friends a long time, but we've never worked together. And we had been reconnected through a writers group. And I just thought, like, this is the project that we need to do together. And so I called him, and thankfully he said yes.
Yeah, and when you described the story to me, Tim, I was an instant yes. I was like, I should be cool and learn about it and think about it for a day or two. But I was like, this man made guitars from what? And also my family is from North Carolina, so I felt connected to the land also. And when we got there and got to meet Freeman Vines, I felt an instant connection that was just I still can't explain how deep it was and how much I felt it.
Did you approach him with a specific concept for it, for the way that you were going to make the movie?
No.
Yeah. And
Um,
we were honestly nervous at first. We got there and we were like, what are we doing? You know, because we went there and we saw the space, we saw the man. He was in a wheelchair, he's very frail. And we were thinking, we cannot exploit this man. We need to approach this with care and concern. You
Yeah.
know, we're very nervous. I'm pretty sure that was true for both of us. And then after probably like 15 minutes with him, you know, the magic moment, and I'll give this big props to Tim once again. Tim
Yeah.
found this wood that was purple and brought it to, because you know that Freeman really loved sound and loved wood.
Yeah.
He pulled the wood out, and Freeman just like lit up and went crazy. He's like, oh my God, I've been wanting this wood. And he knew where it was from, he knew what it was. He started tapping it. He said, you hear this? You hear this? You
Mhm.
know, and I was like, I didn't know wood could sound that fantastic. And I think that was one of the moments that said, okay, we're in the right place. And we he just opened up to us and we ran with the story. So yeah, that's take it back to students for a note. You know, we had the idea, we had the concept, we had the man, we had the location, we had the crew, but we
Yeah.
had no idea what we're going to get. We walked into that space and we were really nervous the first 20, 30 minutes, I would say. And then that wood came out and we saw him and saw him liven up. And it's like, okay, let's just step back and let the story reveal itself to us.
Okay, now that's perfect time to show the trailer. We're going to show a little clip from the film that's just going to let you know, everyone who's in this event, let you know what kind of film our two guests have been presenting. So I'm going to share a screen and we'll play a trailer from the movie. And
Oh, the guitar meant nothing to me. The sound is what I'm looking for. The sound ruined me. It's worse than heroin. People get tired of me talking about it when they talk about music, but I can't help it. It done something to me. Sure did.
wow, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So many questions. So how did you get started developing the story and thinking about how to produce the film?
I would say in terms of getting started, it was really just the first steps. And again, like for students, this is such a it's such a in many ways a prototype of how to make a documentary, because we had the subject, as André said, but then one thing I knew that we needed was to keep it really nimble and small and intimate, because as André said, he had just been actually Mr. Vines had just gone through some chemotherapy, and so he was very ill, and we were communicating almost everything through a nonprofit organization who had originally connected us to him, Music Maker Foundation, which is in Fountain, North Carolina. And they were the ones who were facilitating both the introduction to Mr. Vines and the subject, and they had also produced the book about him. And so we really didn't know anyone. We didn't even know each other. André and I knew each other, but that was sort of it, because Gil, the producer, couldn't even be there at the beginning. It was just us. And so I would say that, like a lot of documentaries that I've either made or had something to do with, it's about discovery. So you go there and you look and you explore and you ask questions and you observe the environment and you just try to capture a moment. And I think, and Andre, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like pretty early we were kind of like, the book has told that story. We are capturing Mr. Vines in this moment in his life at 82, suffering with chemo and just and taking him on his terms today. And I feel like that helped guide us because we were really not overwhelmed then by the story of the history or by the future, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you got it exactly right, Tim. We just let like I describe it as a poetic moment in this man's life. There have been other works out there that are fine. We were very deliberate with our approach to not be anthropological. We weren't researching a subject. This is not a character. This is a participant who's willing to go on a journey with us to reveal his story and share with us, which I think really shined through as I was watching the trailer and also thinking about what Tim just said. I'm remembering at multiple screenings to see people respond to him. He's funny.
Yeah.
People totally laugh. Like they're like, this guy, because he just has like the lines and the language and like really goes into what Maya Angelou described as portmanteau. Like he's making up words to describe what he's talking about, which is so fantastic. And he's just funny. He's a mystic. He's brilliant.
So you were trying to capture him in as natural way as possible. And it was a very small production, right? I think there were 4 of you, like us. Who were the different roles that were involved?
We had a cinematographer. We had actually two people who were both camera operators and sound recordists. So we had this incredible gift of collaborators who were just really great. Ethan Payne and Lee Garman. And Ethan, I had been teaching Ethan's short films for years as demonstrations of great documentary shorts, and had never met him. And his name came across our desk when we were starting to put the crew together, and couldn't believe it. I was like, this is a guy I'm dying to work with. He's out of Atlanta, and he found Lee for us. So they knew each other really well. And it was a great collaboration.
You mentioned the setup, the cinematography. It looks like the film is really keyed in and trying to tell the story of the place, because obviously the place and the wood and the person and the setting is all intertwined. So how important was the setup, the shooting and the sort of the planning for the different environments?
It was very important because it was a very intimate space that we were creating. And we shot on a Sony FX3, which is a fantastic camera for documentary work. The FX6 is great. The whole FX line is fantastic. But the great thing about the FX3 is it's small, it's portable, it's a little beast. It's sort of easier to operate, but it's you still got to find your way through it. And I think that really made a difference because it wasn't some big monster crew that was like in his face with materials. We just were very present with him, and it felt like we were sitting in community and having a conversation. And Ethan and Lee both were really great production people because it was hot, and
it was August.
It was August
in North Carolina, or September. I forget. It was August or September.
I imagine.
It was hot, and there was one. This is a great moment about in terms of crew and how we divide it. There's one afternoon, because part of the film was about the trees that were used to lynch people, and the location was shared with us. And I said, I don't want to go to the location, and Freeman said, I don't want to go either, And so Tim Duffy was in the film, and Ethan went out and filmed, and then Lee and I sat with Freeman, and Freeman called his sister to come on by, which wasn't something we had planned out, if I remember correctly. And she came and she gave us one of the most beautiful moments in the movie. She sings with her, and they have a whole brother-sister interaction, which is kind of fun. And I still to this day remember seeing the two Tims and Ethan come back, and they had been out in the woods, and chopping down trees, not like chopping the bush basically to get to like a site. And I was like, oh, I feel bad because we were not there, and they just were like worn out. And then they stepped back in and did more production because we have more stuff to film. You know? And that's like the teamwork that you have to have when it comes to these kind of processes to kind of work, I should say.
And when you're working with someone like Ethan, sorry, Gordon. When you're working with someone like Ethan, I mean, we were driving every day past these tobacco fields, which figure heavily into the imagery.
Yeah.
And once Ethan who became the editor for us, he also wanted to edit. So he was thinking like an editor while he was shooting. He was giving us these images that ended up being poetic. And we, the first conversation I remember having with him, we talked about tobacco being the image of the voices of the ancestors as the camera is sweeping across the tobacco fields. And so I just love that he was already thinking about the poetic implications of some of the landscape.
And, in raw terms, how long was the project? Did you have to, you really consciously try to do it as compact as possible to not make it too taxing for Mr. Vines?
We had an Airbnb the next town over because there just was nowhere else to stay. And we're sitting on a porch at the end of that, I think the second day. And we were like, wow, that was an intense month, huh? We filmed for 2 days. We filmed for 2 days.
You filmed in 2 days?
2 days.
2 days. 2.5, because we filmed a little bit the third morning.
Right.
But that was all without Mr. Vines. So
right.
It's just other images. But wow, 2.5 days.
Yeah.
2.5 days for 20 minutes of film? Is that right?
14.
Final edit?
14
minutes of film. Wow. Well, there were not too many outtakes then, not too much wasted footage, I guess.
There's a lot that we didn't use. I mean, there was hours and hours and hours of footage because we shot constantly for 2.5 days. I mean, a lot.
We had a beautiful moment where so it's a small town, and down the road was a post office. And the small town. So the person who ran the post office, she was a postmaster, and she delivered the mail, and she probably sorted the mail too. And she was someone that brought meals to Freeman. So she came by just to check in on him. And so we filmed her. We're like, so who are you? She goes, I run the post office up the block. And I love Freeman. And she started talking about him. And it's really funny because she's like, I'm not a film person. And then she gave us a great little talking to about the experience working with him. And those kind of moments happen. Some people came by in a van to like record music in a studio next door, and they talked to us a little bit like these kids riding bikes back and forth because they were who are these strange people in town. Like all these great little moments happened that just weren't usable in the final product.
So you guys were the beneficiary of lots of things happening around you, but you also had open eyes to see, wait, this is something that happens here. I want to ask about sound because it's a movie about an instrument maker, and I think, André, I think you had some special story about how you got the soundtrack assembled, but also the recording of the sound must have been very important. The man's voice is amazing. So how did you approach that? Did you have a specific way to think about that?
Well, that's a great part of having Ethan and Lee, because Tim and I wanted to focus on the creative, and we had this team of I don't know what you call them, like folks who were sound recorders and photographers, digital camera people, photographers.
They're like utility crew. I mean, they do it all. They do it all.
The whole thing. These two had done like music videos together, so they really got some. They were showing us some stuff they did, which was really fantastic. And they had a language. And when you're on a film set, you need to be able to talk to each other without talking to each other, and communicate very clearly. And sound is crucial when it comes to a documentary, and we had someone with a really heavy Southern accent, who had a cigar in his mouth the whole time.
Yeah.
And so we had to have the right person that knew how to get the boom right where it needed to be and to put the mic on the man that had his shirt open the whole time, So it's like, you can't change him, and he's rolling around in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So you have to work with the environment you have. And we knew that sound was crucial because this man created.
Mm.
When we first got there, I remember thinking like, does this man really make these guitars? Do they work?
Mm.
And at one point he pulled out an electronic machine that started going, and I was like, wow, he really is a person that makes our records. So on the post production side of things, we once again were with Ethan. Ethan brought a colleague of his in,
Mhm.
Gresham Cash, who is working in Paris now. Tim was in LA, I was in Philadelphia, Gresham was in Paris, and Ethan was moving throughout the South because Ethan is a busy man. And we were all jumping on Zooms,
Mhm.
ironing out how we're going to edit this movie, talking about sound. And the great thing is Gresham is like doing a master's in sound and digital creation in Paris right now, which is really fantastic.
Mm.
He one day just kind of said,
Mm.
uh, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I remember receiving. He goes, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to make a soundtrack for the movie."
That's exactly
He's like,
how
"Is
it
that
happened.
okay?"
Yeah.
We were
But
like, "Yes, that's
Gil
okay."
the producer has a record label, coincidentally. So he
Yeah.
said, he talked to Gresham, said, let's release a soundtrack. The only thing that's missing on there is I really do wish that Reverend Alice had been on there. But
Yeah.
Mr. Vine's sister sings a song in the film that's one of my favorite. It's really my favorite moment that I only got to witness in film because I wasn't there. I was out shooting something else, and André was filming that, and it was a really special moment. But yeah, the soundtrack is available, but it's also you were talking about the lapel, like the lav,
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that for the students that might be interesting is if you encounter a situation where the sound could be improved, for example, and you know that it would just help if they took off their necklace because the necklace is hitting the microphone, or
Yeah.
if they would just turn off their fridge, or if they would actually maybe put on a different shirt because it's creating a moire pattern. Those are the kinds of situations that I know I would, and I'm pretty sure you would too, André. We would say, yes, could you please do this? But in Freeman's case, we were both sort of like, this is who he is, and it wasn't hurting the sound. It was just,
Mhm.
it was really more of I almost feel like it was more of a personal decision. Like, is this respectful of him? Like, do we, what does it mean? I don't know. What do you think about that? I haven't.
I so agree with that, and I think to add to that is we had two technical people, well, all of us actually, who knew how to deal with and respect an elder in the South.
Yeah.
That's a real situation, a real moment where there's certain things you just don't do, and and then when you work in that way, they respect you and welcome you in. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want to call out other productions, but he talked to us a bit about some other folks came in and he just didn't feel good about how
Mm.
they dealt with him.
Mhm.
And he had love for us. I mean, I wish we probably did film it, but there's so many moments where we walk over here and he roll his wheel up. What y'all doing?
Yeah.
It was so cute. He was so happy to
He's
have us.
really lovely.
And then like calling us and having conversations afterwards.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, he said, well, here's my number. And I was like, well, will we really talk? But you call him and have a great conversation with him. He was a really incredible man. But I really want to emphasize that point to students of thinking about how you're interacting with people and environment you're going into. You don't expect a person to bend and change for you. You have to go in and make yourself fit into the space that you're in and make yourself welcomed and agreeable, because film sets, people need to like you because you spend a lot of time, a whole lot of time together, and that camaraderie, friendship, and respect is very important on every film set, I believe.
In the clips that I've seen from it, like the intimacy and the lack of artifice are really striking. It's not. There's nothing that looks staged, which I imagine would be really key for the subject. He wouldn't want a false story to be told.
And yet staging, we did stage a couple of things. Like, for example, we really wanted to make sure we included him in front of the wall of guitars so that you could see them. We deliberately set that up. We set him up. We wanted to see his workspace. So we asked him to, work on the guitars, which I think he would have done anyway. But you know
Yeah.
what? There are things that if you're making documentary film, you can do that, and it's not betraying your ethics, or it's not betraying you. It's actually the opposite. It's illuminating the story for the audience who couldn't be there.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Can I ask about, you mentioned at the beginning of the show that it's the first time you'd worked together. Can I ask, how did you collaborate? If you're co-directors, how did you share decision making both on the set and then later on when you're editing it?
I mean, it didn't feel like work to me. I don't know how we did it. We just kind of
Yeah.
traded back and forth, asking questions, and
Mhm.
We also, like, we did work at a company years ago, but we weren't in the same cahoots in the same space. We were in the same
yeah.
building and the same floor, but very different departments inside of a place
Yeah.
that shall not be named, maybe, unless Tim wants to name it.
it's okay. We'll
Big
keep it
old
quiet.
studio.
It's in our bios. They'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And so, I think there's so many connections we have, like the high school that I went to has a program that sends kids to work for a month in the month of January.
Mhm.
And a woman that I babysat that ended up marrying my best friend did her
My God.
internship with Tim.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
was crazy. That was
All
crazy.
this like overlapping and stuff. And we also have lots of things in common, in terms of our aesthetic tastes, our
Yeah.
experience in the business, issues around identity, and care and concern about storytelling. Our storytelling overlaps in the sense of what does it mean to think about our roles in the world and
Mhm.
moving towards improving the world and fighting for justice. I don't want to speak for Tim, but I feel comfortable sharing some of that. And also, we have good conversation, and we challenge each other. I do remember we had a talk one night because I think we all, after the first day, were just like trying to process what just happened because so
Yeah.
much happened in one day, and we were concerned
Yeah.
about what we were exploiting this man.
Mhm.
We're showing because his space was rough. There were like chicken bones on the floor, and it was
Yeah.
just this old man living in his space.
Yeah.
And he was very happy in that space.
Mhm.
So we had to pull back and go like, wait a minute, we're pushing our agenda on him. And we had a really good, the four of us on that porch, fighting the mosquitoes,
Mhm.
that night in the heat. Really
That's
having it.
tough.
We brought a fan outside. Didn't we have a fan we brought?
Yeah,
That
yeah. That
blood
was
mosquitoes away. So those are like those. They may seem like silly moments, but they really matter. Like we walked over to this really weird market and got like ice cream sandwiches and snacks for the house, and like
Uh-huh.
sat on the porch and we're together. You know.
So you're saying ice cream sandwiches make it easier to collaborate?
always.
Sure.
But also
Creative.
in post-production, I mean, we were separated again, and so we were
Yeah.
doing it all, with clips. We were doing it with cuts. We were looking at cuts. I don't
Mhm.
think we were ever in disagreement about anything in
No.
post-production, which I've never had before.
Yeah, it's magic. It's magic.
I mean, it was rare if we might go back and forth about, like, is it this way or is it this way? But I don't remember
How
it.
did you approach it remotely, though? Did some person have the final version, and then you talk about something, edits be made, you look at it again, then you go at it one more time? I mean, how did it work?
Exactly like that.
Like that? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
We
Yeah.
watch and then share our notes and then talk about our notes together. We like Tim will share his notes, I share mine, we review them and then get together and discuss them and then share them with the editor. So we'd have a process between the two of us. We went to the editor.
We spoke with one voice. That was the only thing that we agreed that we would do, is like we would talk separately, and then we would present notes as our notes, not my notes and Andre's notes, but our notes.
So another person was doing the final edit, was doing the final production edits.
Ethan Payne. Yeah.
Yeah, That's great. Well, that makes sense then. So, and then you're trying to communicate consistently by having one person give them direction.
That's always a good idea, I think. I
Yeah.
mean, just in general for the students, if you collaborate with anybody, if you're actually a team, speak with one voice.
Great.
Great note. Great note.
It's good advice for everyone, I think, in lots of industries. Looking at from the outside, because I haven't seen the whole film, it seems like a major achievement, and we're all so excited about the film for you guys. What are you each most proud of about the film?
Wow.
Maybe that's a hard question.
It's a very hard question for me, but I guess I'm most proud of the collaboration.
That's my answer.
Well, I just feel like
you even agree on that.
I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like I learned personally so much about how to look at this world and confront this subject because of André. Had he not been part of the project, it would have been I can't imagine it actually. So I don't even want to speculate, but I feel like I was unprepared for what I needed to learn about the world that André helped me learn, discover, illuminate in the process of telling the story, like how to tell the story as a more responsible filmmaker and therefore I hope a better person.
Wow. Thank you, Tim.
Nice.
That's students, write this down. Collaboration is key. I say that all the time, and I think Tim just exemplified that.
Doesn't always happen, so it's pretty valuable.
It doesn't always happen. I can think of some other projects with people I'm not speaking to anymore.
Same.
And it's sad. And it's a delicate balance. It's because we are creatives. We're emotional.
Yeah.
We're emotional, and we're poets, and we're artists. And Erykah Badu said it. I'm an artist, so I'm sensitive about my, And so
right on.
I think and I love that my answer also was a collaboration. Of course, I was
Me too.
Freeman Vines,
That's
but
so funny.
my answer right away was like, yeah, collaborating on this. I mean, I remember being nervous and thinking like, when you come into these spaces, you show up as yourself. And I was nervous, like, oh, am I the outsider? They don't know each other. They're all from the South. My family's up. But I wasn't born in the South. They have this Southern language. I got all these things ringing through my head. Was I the odd man out? Did I have less experience? All the insecurities that pop up, and they all went away when we got together in the house, and we were just goofing around in the house and like showing each other our work. Looking at the equipment, like charging batteries, getting ready, and supporting each other.
Making food.
Yeah, making food. Come to the park in the drive, like all those things. Like, wow, this is a team that's going to go strong and be good. And then, really, having some good conversations with him about this story, and thinking deeply about what this meant, and also turning to him at times and being like, are you feeling what I'm feeling?
Yeah.
When Tim pulled out that purple wood and we saw that man turn an 80-year-old man at that time, turn like a 5-year-old kid who was just like jumping in his wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because it's something he always wanted. And I don't know, Tim, if you knew that he wanted
Well, it's funny. I'm so glad you asked, because I was going to say earlier, it's called Purple Heart. And before we got there, and this is also something that I learned from a filmmaking mentor of mine. And it was that, what can you do for the person that you're collaborating with, who is the subject of your film? So I asked him, Duffy, who was the head of Music Maker Foundation. I said, I'd love to know if Freeman needs anything. What would he like? Well, I want to bring him just a gift from us, from the filmmakers. And he said he wants some Purple Heart wood. He's never been able to get it. And I called a lumber store in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is where I flew into, and they had a few pieces of Purple Heart. So I picked it up. And I mean, I don't know Purple Heart, you know, it wasn't like some brilliant idea I had. It was just like, he needs it.
I think we
We
gave
can
you the
get,
right wood.
we can give it to him. You know what I mean? That's something I would recommend to the students too. Like think about
Yeah.
who you're
Yeah.
collaborating with in that way. Like
Yeah.
the location, being respectful of the, you know, electricity and all the things, but just say like, what do you need? Can I buy you lunch? Can I, you know, can we give you, you know, dinner? Can we include you in our break, you know, when we order lunch?
Yeah. These are great lessons. I mean, like the way you guys are talking about it, it's not how to collaborate with each other. It's also how to collaborate with everyone around you so that the thing can happen in a creative way. We have 15 more minutes, and with your permission, we'd like to answer some student questions because we have a few students that have posted questions in advance of the event. I think the way to run this would be I'll fire out the question and then one of you answers it. And that way we can kind of, you know, get to everyone's questions. So Lisa asked, how long did it take you to edit the movie and what tools did you use?
I'll do that one. Okay, I'll do the first one. It took us a long time. It took about 14 months to finally edit, to get a cut of the film. And I won't go into the details about why. It actually, once we got Ethan to edit it, it only took about a month. So really, it was about a month. And what was the second part?
Yeah, what tools did you use? Is there
I
any?
used Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro. Okay, great. So Arletha asked, what helped you along your journey before you were able to afford a team? I think she's asking about like if your crew was even smaller than 4 people, like how would you get started?
Well, I think that sort of ties into another question that's in the chat, as what was the main source of funding for your film. And luckily, in this, relationships matter. And Tim had a relationship with Gil Holland, who backed the film and the project and wanted to support it. And that was our fortunate space of having a backer being behind, who really cared about the film, who got and understood what these kind of films could be and what they mean, and just cares about making great movies.
Okay, we've got a few other ones in the chat. I hadn't noticed we have got some questions in the chat as well. Grace asked a question. I think you sort of partially answered this, but Samuel also asked this, who I'm not sure if he's here or not, but it was about the funding. You know, like any project that you do, even you've got to fund your ice cream sandwiches or whatever, right? So what strategy did you utilize to secure funding for the project?
The project was completely funded when it came to us through Gil Holland. He wanted to make this film. He knew he wanted it to be a short. He gave us those parameters really easily. He said, "You got to do it this weekend. You got to do it with this amount of money." And we put the budget together and got the crew, and we were able to do it right to the dollar. Now, there have been expenses after that. It costs money to submit to film festivals. It costs money to finish the film. It costs a little bit more to promote it. Like right now, we're doing a campaign to promote the film with a public relations firm that is going to help us possibly launch a even higher profile campaign for the film. All that being said, if you're looking for funding for film, join the club. We are always looking for funding.
Where is the club? Where can we join?
It's a secret club, and apparently, because I haven't been told where it is. And the other thing is, just so you know, there is no one answer to finding funding for film. For every film, there's a different funding answer. And I don't know if you want to add to that, but I don't know.
100%. Said it all.
Let's see. Kitam asked a question. What was the main motivation for the film idea? I think you kind of addressed that a little bit earlier. But here's a deeper question. Is there an idea that you felt the film was unable to convey? Something that you really wish you could have communicated that you didn't manage to get in the film?
There's, one thing maybe. I wish that there was a clearer understanding or depiction that the guitars play beautifully. And Mr. Freeman had diabetes, so he was unable to do it. And he does play it at the end. He doesn't play it very well, and it doesn't sound great, but they do play. And I wish that had been clearer.
Right. Andre, anything from your perspective?
That's a perfect answer. It's a perfect answer.
Okay. Couple more general big picture questions. Erica asked, what is the biggest challenge as an independent filmmaker? I mean, it maybe just related to this project. Like, what was the biggest challenge in this project, or, you know?
I think the biggest challenge, I don't want to just say funding because that's almost too easy,
Mhm.
but I'll pull back and say staying with it. You
Mhm.
know, this is whenever I'm teaching a class and a student is struggling with a project and like they get really frustrated, or talking to a colleague or a friend that's like, "This is too hard. I'm sick of trying to raise money. I'm sick of not knowing what next year looks like." I say, "Well, you can go work in a bank. You know, this is if you don't do this if you want to do this, you need to do this work
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's the rewards are beautiful and wonderful, and the struggles are very real. You know, because especially right now in this climate, funding is 10 times, if not more, harder than it's been ever for documentaries, and that is we don't need to get too political, but that is just nature and state of the world right now, and particularly in America. And folks are nervous about investing, and foundations are being pulled in so many different directions now that there are so many federal cuts that we are, you know, I'm trying to raise money for 3 other documentaries right now, and we are scrambling to try and find ways to get them funded. And I am committed to keep trying. I'm committed to keep trying. So I think that is the hardest part is just staying with it and sticking to it and showing up every day and working your hardest and and really trying to make, you know, to go to an old school black phrase, to make something out of nothing. Like
Yeah.
you really got to make something out of nothing, and the nothing often is actually much bigger and more something than you think.
Hmm. Hmm.
Beautiful.
That's a great answer. And another big picture question is maybe sort of related, is Mary asks, what is the key to success in a project like this? Like, was there that? I mean, that's if you got one key, please share it, or you can share 10 keys. I'm sure there are a lot.
Well, I would ask, how do you define success is the question behind that question, because it doesn't,
Yeah.
I think success can mean so many different things. The worst feature film that I ever directed, and it is objectively really the worst. It is not good. Was
What?
one of the most fun film sets I've ever had. It was one of the most fun experiences, one of the most satisfying. I learned more than anything. So I consider that film a success. But if you were to objectively look at this, you would say and it failed, you know, in terms of artistically, financially. So I don't know. I feel like success has to be, I I think it has to be defined however you see it. I in terms of Freeman Vines, I think it is a huge success, and not because of the film festivals. That's nice. That's really fun, and the responses we're getting. But for all of the other things that we've said, how enriching the experience was personally and professionally, I think that makes it a success. So, was it Mary? Mary,
It was Mary.
you can.
Yeah.
I would love to know what you mean more specifically by
Right.
success.
Right. Right. Well, it's a deep question, isn't it? For this film, what what would represent success in the market or in the industry for you guys? I mean, it seems amazing to me that you have 18 festivals already. Does it point towards next year? Does it point to possibly Academy Awards? I mean, what would you like to see the movie have a wide release so that as many people could see it as possible?
You know, it's interesting. We've gotten from a lot of people at our festivals, folks saying, and I'm not sure I've even told you this, Tim, but someone at Indy said it. This is the best film here. You know, like that happens a lot, and that may be people stroking your ego or saying something, but it's nice to hear. You
Hmm.
know, I think we it's too soon to talk about it. We have a distribution partner interested in the film, which is a nice moment. That's very nice to have someone who wants to get behind and find a way to put it out and promote it. You know, we're also in our own way trying to organize strategies to potentially, I don't maybe telling too much to get like a big name person attached to the film that will represent it.
Yeah.
Say like, hey, you should watch this. And then, you know, the awards would be great because that's in a business sense. If we were to able to secure an Academy nomination, that's
hmm
great for our business
hmm
us as filmmakers for the opportunities and the doors that it would open. That'd be really nice. But I'll say the success for me is what I've seen at the film festivals of people being like, I love this movie, and thank you for introducing me to someone like Freeman Vines.
hmm
Like that's the award right there. Like that's the big reward, and that's happened again and again at film festival. Folks from folks organizing the festival to like a woman that came to see the movie. That's like I really like that Freeman Vines. You know, like that's
Yeah.
those are the awards and rewards